Roller coasters, you either love them or you hate them. People love them because they provide a huge rush of adrenaline that makes for a fun and thrilling experience. But even though they are fun to some people, for others, they aren't pleasant at all. I used to have a really bad fear of roller coasters. I refused to get on most of them. This was always a shame because I liked everything about them. I loved their speed, I loved the loops, I loved the twists and turns. I've always liked the idea of coasters, but there's just one problem. Those drops. I hated drops. Well, I didn't hate the drops per se. I really hated that annoying and painful, yes, I said painful stomach sensation I would feel while going down them. It really didn't matter how big or small or what kind of rides they were, because I always felt my stomach drop. They didn't even have to be roller coasters. I couldn't even handle swinging boat rides. Roller coasters are designed to be scary. You're supposed to feel like you're on a wild and surreal train ride. I don't know anything about physics, but from what I understand, the way your body feels when it's accelerating is measured in g-forces. Since your body is going down a drop at a fast rate, then you get pushed into your seat, you're experiencing g-forces. The sensation in your stomach is basically your internal organs lifting and floating inside of you. People either like this feeling or they hate it. I would equate it to feeling like I'm being punched in the gut, and no one wants to feel like they're being punched in the gut. But from what I understand, over time, you may actually stop experiencing that sensation. I only knew this because after reading a ton of forums, I saw someone complain that they had stopped feeling it on rides. After riding coasters over and over again, I think your body just gets used to it. I can attest to that because it actually happened to me. So now I am proud to say that I no longer fear roller coasters. I can now go on giga coasters like Leviathan and experience very little discomfort. Here are my tips and tricks. Tip number 1. Start off with rides with shorter drops. Rides with drops that are around 50 feet and up are a good start. You can ask a ride attendant about the drop length, or you can search it up online if you're not sure. Rides that have really helped me overcome my fear were the ones found in Disney World. Their attractions aren't too intense. The most intense rides at the resort are Splash Mountain over at Magic Kingdom, Expedition Everest over at Animal Kingdom, Rock 'n' Roller Coaster, and Tower of Terror over at Hollywood Studios. If you have no issue with these rides, then great, you are on the right track. But these rides are the ones that made my stomach lift. Even though I felt a bit of discomfort, the rides were still very enjoyable. That's why I kept getting on them. Then I would push myself by riding even bigger coasters. I just worked my way up. Then after some time, I stopped feeling that pain. My theory is you have to put yourself through some of these G-forces in order for your body to get used to them. So that means you're probably going to have to endure some discomfort. It's just part of the process. You know what they say, no pain, no gain. I'm not sure how long it takes before you get used to that sensation. It personally took me years to get used to it, but that could be due to many different factors, like how often I visited an amusement park, how often I would ride these coasters, etc. In my case, for the past 8 years, I had only been visiting certain theme parks annually, and I would spend about a week there. Tip number 2, don't get on any rides that are too bumpy, have airtime hills, or any additional drops. I know that sounds pretty obvious, but I'll never forget this one really bad experience that really solidified my fear. It was back when I was young. I worked up the courage to try Vortex at Canada's Wonderland for the first time. This was maybe the early 2000s, and at that time, Vortex was a very smooth ride. The drop was about 80 feet. It scared the heck out of me. But to my shock, I ended up really liking it. My cousin, who was a few years older than me at the time, was excited to see that I had seemingly overcome my fear. So the next day, she thought it would be a great idea to take me on none other than Wild Beast, then Mindbuster, of all rides. Besides the fact that these two roller coasters have terrible reputations of being rough, they had more than one drop and airtime hills. I didn't know this at the time, so I went on them thinking that I would be okay. Wrong. Everyone else seemed to be enjoying themselves, but I, on the other hand, would be bent over, clutching my stomach, and crying in agony. I just wanted my misery to end. Sadly, that really did it for me. Funny enough, when it came time for us to ride Vortex again, I was so traumatized by my last 2 ride experiences that I refused to go on Vortex. I never wanted to ride a roller coaster ever again. This confused the heck out of everyone, especially my cousin, because I literally went on Vortex the day before and I liked it. So what happened? Well, the difference with Vortex and those other rides was that it only had 1 drop, no airtime hills, and it was a smooth ride, not bumpy. That was all I could tolerate at that time. The point I'm trying to make with this story is that if you have a fear, only ride what you're comfortable with riding, and ride that one over and over again, so that you give yourself time to get used to drops. If you start off by riding everything, you might end up with a really bad experience, which will make the process of overcoming your fear a bit more difficult. Number 3, body positioning. These are actually tricks that I learned. On some rides, if you position your body a certain way, you actually won't feel any discomfort at all. But it really depends on the ride and its type of seating. I discovered this trick while I was riding Expedition Everest over at Animal Kingdom. Whenever the big drop was approaching, I would bend over and lean to the side. It's kind of like I'm trying to hold my internal organs in place. I mean, I do look a little silly doing this, but hey, it works. I didn't feel anything. So I think this trick can work on wooden roller coasters or any ride that doesn't have overhead restraints. Now with B&M hyper coasters like Behemoth and Leviathan, I would hold on to the handles on the lap restraint. Then as the drop approaches, I would lean forward and lift my feet up, kind of as if I'm folding my body in half. It's important to keep your feet up and hold on to the handles. I also think it's good to do this right when you're hanging over the top so that you can bend over and forward a little better. Whenever I would do it this way, I wouldn't feel a thing as I'm going down those 200 to 300 feet drops. It's amazing considering a few years ago, I couldn't get on anything over 50 feet. Some additional tips that may help are: don't sit in the back of a train. Try sitting in the middle or closer to the front. Sitting in the back is usually more intense and doesn't give you much time to position your body because gravity will whip the train over and pull you down that drop way faster. Lastly, I would like to say that when you get on any roller coaster, fear can make you feel 10 times worse. So just try to get on there and embrace it. I learned that change in attitude can change your overall experience. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any tips and tricks, please let us know in the comments below. Please like, please share, and please subscribe. Bye now.